Hello dear viewers, today we are going to discuss the National Curriculum Framework 2005. Before going through this lesson, let's have a look on its objectives. Number 1. To explain the background and guiding principles of the National Curriculum Framework 2005. Number 2. Recommendations of National Curriculum Framework 2005 on 5 areas. These are perspectives, learning and knowledge, curriculum areas, school stage and assessment, school and classroom environment, and systemic reforms. India is a free nation with a rich, variegated history, an extraordinary, complex cultural diversity, and a commitment to democratic values and well-being for all. Ever since 1986, when the National Policy on Education was approved by Parliament, efforts to redesign the curriculum have been focused on the creation of a national system of education. Given the enormity and importance of the task of educating the country's children, it is necessary that from time to time we create occasions to collectively sit back and ask ourselves, what is it that we are doing in our engagement with this task? Is it time for us to refresh what we provide to our children in the name of education? If we look at what the system of education has accomplished since independence, perhaps we have much to be satisfied with. Today, our country engages nearly 55 lakh teachers spread over around 10 lakh schools to educate about 2,025 lakh children. While 82% of habitations have a primary school within a radius of 1 kilometer. There is an upper primary school within 3 kilometers for 75% of habitations. At least 50% of our children who appear at the school leaving examination pass out of the secondary school system. Despite these trends, 37% people in India lack literacy skills. About 53% children drop out at the elementary stage, and over 75% of our rural schools are multigrade. Further, there is a deep discontent about several aspects of our education practice. Number 1. The school system is characterized by an inflexibility that makes it resistant to change. Number 2. Learning has become an isolated activity which does not encourage children to link knowledge with their lives in any organic or vital way. Number 3. Schools promote a regime of thought that discourages creative thinking and insights. Number 4. What is presented and transmitted in the name of learning in schools bypasses vital dimensions of the human capacity to create new knowledge. Number 5. The future of the child has taken center stage to the near exclusion of the child's present, which is detrimental to the well-being of the child as well as the society and the nation. The basic concerns of education to enable children to make sense of life and develop their potential to define and pursue a purpose and recognize the right of others to do the same stand uncontested and valid even today. If anything, we need to retreat the mutual interdependence of humans, and as Tagore says, we achieve our greatest happiness when we realize ourselves through others. Equally, we need to reaffirm our commitment to the concept of equality within the landscape of cultural and socio-economic diversity from which children enter into the portals of the school. Individual aspirations in a competitive economy trend to reduce education to being an instrument of material success. The perception which places the individual in exclusively competitive relationships puts unreasonable stress on children and thus distorts values. It also makes learning from each other a matter of little consequence. Education must be able to promote values that foster peace, humanness, and tolerance in multicultural society. This document seeks to provide a framework within which teachers and schools can choose and plan experiences that they think children should have. In order to realize educational objectives, the curriculum should be conceptualized as a structure that articulates required experiences. For this, it should address some basic questions. What educational purpose should the school seek to achieve? What educational experiences can be provided that are likely to achieve these purposes? How can these educational experiences be meaningfully organized? How do we ensure that these educational purposes are indeed being accomplished? The review of the National Curriculum Framework 2000 was initiated specially to address the problem of curriculum load on children. A committee appointed by the Ministry of Human Resource Development in the early 1990s had analyzed this problem, tracing its roots to the system's tendency to treat information as knowledge. In its report, Learning Without Burden, the committee pointed out that learning at school cannot become a joyful experience unless we change our perception of the child as a receiver of knowledge and move beyond the convention of using textbooks as the basis for examination. The impulse to teach everything arises from lack of faith in children's own creative instinct and their capacity to construct knowledge out of their experience. The size of textbooks has been growing over the years, even as the pressure to include new topics mounts and the efforts to synthesize knowledge and treat it holistically gets weaker. Flabby textbooks and the syllabi they cover symbolize a systematic failure to address children in a child-centered manner. Those who write such encyclopedic textbooks are guided by the popular belief that there has been an explosion of knowledge. Therefore, vast amounts of knowledge should be pushed down the throats of little children in order to catch up with other countries. Learning Without Burden recommended a major change in the design of syllabi and textbooks, and also a change in the social ethos, which places stress on children to become aggressively competitive and exhibit precocity. The National Curriculum Framework is one of 4 national curriculum frameworks published in 1975, 1988, 2000 and 2005 by the National Council of Educational Research and Training (NCERT) in India. The document provides the framework for making syllabi, textbooks and teaching practices within the school education programs in India. National Curriculum Framework 2005 has been translated into 22 languages and has influenced the syllabi in 17 states. The NCERT gave a grant to each state to promote National Curriculum Framework in the language of the state and to compare its current syllabus with the syllabus proposed, so that a plan for reforms could be made. Several states have taken up this challenge. This exercise is being carried out with the involvement of State Councils for Educational Research and Training (SCERT) and District Institutes of Education and Training (DIET), as per the directions of the Human Resource Development Ministry. The NCERT took up the assignment of reviving the National Curriculum Framework for School Education in the light of the report Learning Without Burden 1993. A national steering committee under the chairmanship of Professor Yashpal formed 21 national focus groups. The National Curriculum Framework 2005 begins with a quotation from Tagore's essay Civilization and Progress, in which the poet reminds us that a creative spirit and generous joy are key in childhood, both of which can be distorted by an unthinking adult world. Seeking guidance from the constitutional vision of India as a secular, egalitarian and pluralistic society founded on the values of social justice and equality, certain broad aims of education have been identified in this document. The term National Curriculum Framework is often wrongly construed to mean that an instrument of uniformity is being proposed. The intention, as articulated in the National Policy on Education 1986 and the Programme of Action POA 1992, was quite the contrary. The NPE and POA envisage a child-centered approach to promote universal enrollment and universal retention of child up to 14 years of age and substantial improvement in the quality of education in the school. Let us discuss the guiding principles of curriculum development. The fact that learning has become a source of burden and stress on children and the parents is an evidence of a deep distortion in educational aims and quality. To correct this distortion, the present National Curriculum Framework proposes 5 guiding principles for curriculum development. These are: connecting knowledge to life outside the school, ensuring the learning shifts away from rote methods, enriching the curriculum so that it goes beyond textbooks, making examinations more flexible and integrating them with classroom life, and nurturing an overriding identity informed by carrying concerns within the democratic polity of the country. Let us discuss the recommendations of National Curriculum Framework 2005. The recommendations of National Curriculum Framework on 5 areas are as: number 1, perspectives; number 2, learning and knowledge; number 3, curriculum areas, school stage and assessment; number 4, school and classroom environment; number 5, systemic reforms. Perspectives. Suggestions of National Curriculum Framework regarding perspectives are as: strengthening a national system of education in a pluralistic society, reducing the curriculum load based on insight provided in learning without burden, systematic change in tune with curriculum reforms, curricular practices based on the values enshrined in the Constitution such as social justice, equality and secularism, ensuring quality education for all. Building a citizenry committed to democratic practices, values, sensitivity towards gender justice, problems faced by the scheduled castes and the scheduled tribes, needs of the disabled and capacities to participate in economic and political processes. Learning and knowledge. This chapter establishes the need to recognize the child as a natural learner and knowledge as an outcome of the child's own activity. In our everyday lives, outside the school, we enjoy the curiosity, inventiveness, and constant querying of the children. They actively engage with the world around them, exploring, responding, inventing, and working things out and making meaning. Childhood is a period of growth and change involving developing one's physical and mental capacities to the fullest. It involves being socialized into adult society, into acquiring and creating knowledge of the world and oneself in relation to others in order to understand, to act and to transform. Each new generation inherits the storehouse of culture and knowledge in society by integrating it into one's own web of activities and understanding and realizing its fruitfulness in creating afresh. Suggestions of National Curriculum Framework regarding learning and knowledge are as: reorientation in our perception of learners and learning, holistic approach in the treatment of learners' development and learning, meeting learning disability needs through data-based and needs-specific programs, learning engagement for construction of knowledge and fostering creativity, active learning through experimental mode, educate room for voicing children's thinking, curiosity and questions in curricular practices, connecting knowledge across disciplinary boundaries to provide a broader frame for insightful construction of knowledge. Forms of learner engagement: observing, exploring, discovering, analyzing, critical reflection, etc. are as important as the content of knowledge. Activities for developing critical perspectives on socio-culture realities need to find space in curricular practices. Local knowledge and children's experiences are essential components of textbooks and pedagogic practices. School years are a period of rapid development with changes and shifts in capabilities, attitudes, and interests that have implications for choosing and organizing the content and process of knowledge. Curriculum areas, school stage, and assessment. The main area relevant for curriculum planning have remained remarkably stable for a long time, despite major changes in social expectations and the academic study of different broad disciplines. It is important that each curricular area is revisited in depth so that specific points of entry can be identified in the context of emerging social needs. In this respect, the status and role of the arts and the health and physical education deserve special attention in view of the peculiar orbit of the extracurricular to which they were relegated almost a century ago. Aesthetic sensibility and experience being the prime sites of the growing child's creativity, we must bring the arts squarely into the domain of the curricular, infusing them in all areas of learning while giving them an identity of their own at relevant stages. Work, peace, and health and physical education have a similar case. All three have a fundamental significance for economic, social, and personal development. Schools have a major role to play in ensuring that children are socialized into a culture of self-reliance, resourcefulness, peace-oriented values, and health. Suggestions of National Curriculum Framework regarding curriculum areas, school stages, and assessment are as: Number 1. Language. Language skills speech and listening, reading, and writing cut across school subjects and disciplines. Their foundational role in children's construction of knowledge right from elementary classes through senior secondary classes needs to be recognized. A renewed effort should be made to implement the three-language formula, emphasizing recognition of children's mother tongue as the best medium of instruction. Success in learning English is possible only if it builds on sound language pedagogy in the mother tongue. The multilingual character of Indian society should be seen as a resource for enrichment of school life. Number 2. Mathematics. Mathematization rather than knowledge of mathematics is the main goal of teaching mathematics. The teaching of mathematics should enhance the child's ability to think and reason, to visualize and handle abstractions, to formulate and solve problems. Access to quality mathematics education is the right of every child. Number 3. Science. Content, process, and language of science teaching must be commensurate with learners' age range and cognitive reach. Science teaching should engage the learner in acquiring methods and processes that will nurture their curiosity and creativity, particularly in relation to the environment. Science teaching should be placed in the wider context children's environment to equip them with the requisite knowledge and skills to enter the world of work. Awareness of environmental concerns must permeate the entire school curriculum. Number 4. Social science. Social science teaching should aim at equipping children with moral and mental energy so as to provide them the ability to think independently and reflect critically on social issues. Interdisciplinary approach promoting key national concerns such as gender justice, human rights, and sensitivity to marginalized groups and minorities. Civics should be recast as political science and significance of history as a shaping influence on the child's conception of the past and civic identity should be recognized. Number 5. Work. Work should be infused in all subjects from the primary stage upwards. Agencies and setting offering work opportunities outside the school be formally recognized. Design of vocational education and training program is based on the perspective of 10 to 12 years of work-centered education with inbuilt features of flexible and modular courses of varying durations, multiple entry and exit points. Accessibility from the level of village clusters to district levels. Decentralized accreditation and equivalence mechanism for agencies located outside the school system. Number 6. Art. Arts, folk and classical forms of music and dance, visual arts, puppetry, clay work, theatre, etc., and heritage crafts should be recognized as integral components of the school curriculum. Awareness of their relevance to personal, social, economic, and aesthetic needs should be built among parents, school authorities, and administrators. The art should comprise a subject at every stage of school education. Number 7. Peace. Peace-oriented values should be promoted in all subjects throughout school years with the help of relevant activities. Peace education should form a component of teacher education. Number 8. Health and physical education. Health and physical education are necessary for the overall development of learners. Through health and physical education programs, it may be possible to handle successfully the issues of enrollment, retention, and completion of school. School and classroom environment. Learning takes place within a web of social relationships as teachers and pupils interact both formally and informally. Schools are institutional spaces for communities of learners, including both students and teachers. Play and scuffle with one's friends on the school ground, free time to sit on the bench and chat with one's friends during breaks, gathering together for morning assembly and other festive and significant occasions in the school, studies carried out in the classroom, anxious turning of pages before a class text, and trips made with one's classmates and teachers to places outside the school. All these are activities bringing the community together, giving it the character of a learning community. Behind the scenes, but still significant in giving the school its character, are the teachers and the headmaster planning and carrying out daily routines, examinations, and special events that mark the school calendar. Availability of minimum infrastructure and material facilities and support for planning a flexible daily schedule are critical for improved teacher performance. Suggestions of National Curriculum Framework regarding school and classroom environment are as: a school culture that nurtures children's identities as learners, enhances the potential and interests of each child. Specific activities ensuring participation of all children, able and disabled, are essential conditions for learning by all. The value of self-discipline among learners through democratic functioning is as relevant as ever. Participation of community members in sharing knowledge and experience in a subject area helps in forging a partnership between school and community. Reconceptualization of learning resources in terms of textbooks focused on elaboration of concepts, activities, problems and exercises, encouraging reflective thinking and group work. Supplementary books, workbooks, teachers' handbooks, etc. based on fresh thinking and new perspectives. Multimedia and information communication technology as sources for two-way interaction rather than one-way reception. School library as an intellectual space for teachers, learners and members of the community to deepen their knowledge and connect with the wider world. Decentralized planning of school calendar and a daily schedule and autonomy for teacher professionalism practices are basic to creating a learning environment. Systemic reforms. The dimensions of the national framework for school curriculum that have been outlined are derived from related aims of education with the social conscience, focusing on learners who are actively engaged with constructing rather than only receiving knowledge through their individual and collective endeavors. Such a curricular vision needs to be supported and sustained with systemic reforms of structures and institutions that nurture practices supportive of the children's inclusion in school and their learning. Important among these are the system for preparing teachers and supporting their professional practices through monitoring and academic leadership, the system for producing textbooks and learning materials, decentralization and Panchayat Raj institutions, work-centered education and vocational education and training (VET), and most important structural feature, the examination system. The curriculum is realized in the activities planned for by the teachers and experienced by the children. The school ethos and practices of teachers depend critically on the architecture of the system. Suggestions of National Curriculum Framework regarding systemic reforms are as: quality concern, a key feature of the systemic reform, implies the system's capacity to reform itself by enhancing its ability to remedy its own weaknesses and to develop new capabilities. A broad framework for planning upwards, beginning with schools for identifying focuses areas and subsequent consolidation at the cluster and block levels, could form a decentralized planning strategy at the district level. Meaningful academic planning has to be done in a participatory manner by headmasters and teachers. Monitoring quality must be seen as a process of sustaining interaction with individual schools in terms of teaching-learning processes. Professional training of teachers can be strengthened by linking it to postgraduate studies in different subjects. Provisions for integrated undergraduate studies in teacher education. Inclusion of a course on language proficiency as an integral component. Engaging the trained with the large context of education, interacting with children in real context and critically questioning their own beliefs about knowledge and learning, gender, caste, equality and justice. Shifting the focus from pure disciplinary knowledge to the learner and his or her context. In-service education needs to become a catalyst for change in school practices. Panchayat Raj system should be strengthened by evolving a mechanism to regulate the functioning of parallel bodies at the village level so that democratic participation in development can be realized. Examination reform. Reducing stress and enhancing success in examination necessitate shift from content-based testing to problem solving and understanding. For this to happen, the present typology of the question paper must change. Shift towards shorter examinations. Setting up of a single nodal agency for coordinating the design and conduct of entrance examinations. Availability of multiple textbooks to widen teachers' choices and provide for the diversity in the children's needs and interests. Sharing of teaching experiences and diverse classroom practices to generate new ideas and facilitate innovation and experimentation. Development of syllabi, textbooks and teaching learning resources could be carried out in a decentralized and participatory manner involving teachers, experts from universities, NGOs and teachers' organizations. Dear learners, with this we conclude this very important topic of today. Hope you enjoyed the lesson. For now, it's time to say goodbye. Stay blessed.